Hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be telling you about the film What If. It is a independent film that actually got a pretty wide release for the most part. Um, I know a lot of theaters are showing this film already. Some of the smaller cinemas that like Sundance Cinema and stuff that shows more of the limited release kind of stuff. For surprisingly, they didn't really get this film for some odd reason. Maybe some of them did, but I'm living in one of the few states that does have a Sundance Cinema. So for some odd reason, we didn't get this film here. Um, but anyway, enough about that. Today I'm telling you about, What If. It is a film that stars Daniel Radcliffe and Zoe Kazan, as well as Adam Driver, who we're going to see later next year in Star Wars Episode 7. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him there. So it's nice to also see, what his acting talent is, because this is my first time I've seen him in a film. But anyway, for What If, it's about a guy who Daniel Radcliffe plays, and he is a medical school dropout. He had a girlfriend that he was dating for a while, and he's also, not been really dating anybody for a while because for a good solid year, him and this girl were not dating. They broke up, and he kind of went single all these years, and he's living with his sister who has a kid. And he really doesn't kind of know what he's doing with his life. He's not doing anything medical school related with his career. He works as a instruction manual person. He works in one of those places, and he meets the cousin of his roommate, or at least like a close friend of his, and her name is Chantry, and she's played by Zoe Kazan, who some might recognize in films like It's Complicated and Ruby Sparks. And they kind of hit it off right away. They become good friends. They both are out single one night to go out to a movie, like a classic movie that was shown in the theater. Like ironically, what Sundance is doing right now, showing a classic film with all the other modern day stuff that's currently coming out. And so basically, they bump into each other, and after that, they bump into each other even more. They have each other's phone number. But then Daniel Radcliffe slowly finds out that this girl already has a boyfriend, but he still wants to be her friend though. He wants to hang out with her. He wants to get to know her more. They have common interests. They like talking with each other. They like going out to diners and just seeing what they have to eat and things like that. And so throughout the course of this film, he's trying to figure out, what exactly can he do with her. She seems to be madly in love with this guy. They're still kissing, they're still intimate, they're living together. They seem happy for the most part. Obviously, you'll see throughout the course of the film, there's some major faults that they have that kind of make the two of them question what they want, and that's kind of where Daniel Radcliffe comes in. That's where he comes in. He wants to be the boyfriend, but he is the friend, and she likes him as a friend, and she kind of doesn't want him to become the boyfriend. So the film's all about what can he do as a friend that is borderline relationship, but it's not quite a relationship because this girl's already in one. So it's him trying to figure out what exactly he can do since he really likes this person. He really wants to be a part of this girl's life in some way. He's attracted to her. She's attracted to him, and so they're trying to figure out what they can and can't do, and what they can do so that way this girl can continue this relationship with this guy, and things will be good in the end. So I really enjoyed What If, you guys. I guess I can jump right into the positives and negatives because I'm going to jump right into the positives, and what I was about to say was a positive. So for What If, you guys, I thought it explored the boundaries of romance and friendship very well. It definitely explored, this is what a relationship is, this is what a friendship is. If you do this, it becomes a relationship. If you don't really do any of these things, they never really happen, then that's more so of a friendship. If kissing gets involved, if sex gets involved, if really close intimacy gets involved, if there's a really strong attraction and it's pretty emphasized when that man and woman are hanging out, that's more of a relationship. Friendship is, get-togethers, and you can still do things that same-sex genders would do and things like this. So that's kind of the interesting thing about this film is it just kind of explores, this is a friendship, this is a relationship, this is kind of borderline, pushing past friendship, and now that's more so of a relationship. Another thing the film does is it has very interesting monologues about love, kind of how people perceive it, what they get out of love and things like that. The film explores that a lot. Zoe Kazan and Daniel Radcliffe have a lot of that back and forth throughout the course of the film, and it's very interesting to watch. Kind of like I was just talking about earlier, talking about the boundaries of what's a relationship, what's a friendship. The monologues very much support that and emphasize those, and it's very interesting to watch on screen. And speaking of Daniel Radcliffe and Zoe Kazan, their performances in this are great. Um, I still think Daniel Radcliffe's best performance is in the Harry Potter films, just like how I think Zoe Kazan's best performance is in Ruby Sparks. But regardless, their performances here are great. It's a post Harry Potter and a post Ruby Sparks success for the both of them, I believe. And performance wise, I had no complaints. These two really knew who these characters were, and it was very fun seeing them play these characters on screen together. And they had great screen chemistry as well. Adam Driver, who once again is the guy who's going to be in Star Wars Episode 7 soon, and kind of the roommate slash friend of Daniel Radcliffe. Him and this girlfriend who he's dating throughout the course of the film, and it gets really serious as you'll see as the film progresses. The screen chemistry that Adam Driver and the girlfriend have, their back and forth conversations are perfect. They are funny. They play off of each other very well. You can definitely tell they're in love, and it's just the way that they handled that on screen together was really funny. So I really liked their back and forth of after they would make comments to each other as they made out and things like that. So their back and forth was great in this. It was actually probably one of the funnier parts of the film. The film also has a very much a Ruby Sparks vibe. Zoe Kazan's character Chantry very much reminded me of Ruby from Ruby Sparks, and I really like how the film kind of had that vibe that film had as well. So it was just fun to see, one of my favorite films have kind of it made its way into another film in the form of a vibe and of a tone that the film managed to keep consistent. For the negatives of What If, I do think there is some overly stupid characters. A lot of them are just there to kind of make the humor work more, I guess, or at least attempt to make the humor work more. And after a while, it just really bothered me. I felt like they were just making these characters stupid just to kind of attempt to make the story more interesting. And to be honest, I really don't think that works too well. What If also has some flat jokes in it, just some jokes that really don't work. They really weren't funny. You can tell they're trying to be funny, but some of them just really don't work. And speaking of jokes, there is some really repetitive jokes in this film. I can't even begin to tell you how many poop jokes are in this film. It really got on my nerves, and I really wanted more of a variety of jokes in this because it really had a neat concept going for this. And as soon as they really started to emphasize humor more so than the romance, it just got really repetitive after a while. And it just felt like the writer only know poop jokes, and it really got old really quick. The film also has a bad sense of logic. Just a lot of things like if your friend is if you're the opposite sex and it's quite clear that this guy and this girl are friends, and you're just being introduced to them, don't kiss them, don't do things that make you look like you're already in a relationship with this guy, don't be telling people these false stories about what this guy is doing to you and things like that just to get attention. Just a really bad sense of logic in this, and I can't even begin to tell you. I had so many different things going through my mind, like why are they doing that? So many realistic, logical people that actually have a brain would never do that in reality. So just a bad sense of logic that the film had throughout the course of the movie. I also think the film overstayed its welcome. There was one scene in the film that was towards the end that would have been a perfect spot to end the film, but would have kept it open for interpretation. It would have been a great way to kind of end the film on an interesting note, and it doesn't go with it. It goes even longer, and it just overstays its welcome, and that actually goes to my next negative. There's just too many generic romance elements. It just becomes something that we've seen a million times before in other romance films, and I've already seen a lot of other films that had those generic romance elements, so it just kind of overstayed its welcome, and I really would have preferred something that was more daring and more original, like the first two-thirds of the film was. And then my last complaint about What If is some of the details are kind of messy, kind of like, we know what Daniel Radcliffe does, we know what Zoe Kazan does, but it's never really quite clear because with Zoe Kazan, she's an animator, but we really don't get to see what she's working on as an animator. We see this girl with butterfly wings flying across the screen a lot, but we never really know if that's for a TV show, for a website, for social media, for Flash. It never really goes into detail on those things. And with Daniel Radcliffe, though we know that he works on instruction manuals for a living and he has his own cubicle at this office, um, it doesn't really specifically go into what kind of instruction manuals he goes into, because there's a lot of different kind of instruction manual stuff that exists out there in the world, and the film doesn't just it just doesn't give us enough details, and it feels really messy when they do provide the details for us. But overall, guys, What If does have a lot of interesting things to say about relationships and friendships, and it is good enough for me to give it a good recommendation. So therefore, I'm giving What If an 8.5 out of 10. It does have a lot of interesting things going for it. It's very much worth your time if you kind of like that idea of, what's a friendship, what's a relationship. Zoe Kazan and Daniel Radcliffe, really good, great performances here. But things like flat jokes, repetitive jokes, overstaying its welcome, generic romance elements, messy details, a bad sense of logic, and even some stupid characters kind of wear the film down a bit, and it almost could have made this a really incredible film experience. But it does a lot of things that we've seen in other romance films several times before, and it could have been a much daring project if the right writer and the right director could have been attached to it. But overall, What If is very good. If, like I said, if you like this subject matter, if you think it's interesting, my 8.5 out of 10 rating really proves that. And I think you'll really like this film a lot if you like that kind of stuff. So, What If gets a huge thumbs up. Make sure you see it. Go into it knowing it's not perfect, but it's still very good and it's still very much worth your time.